In this video we'll start wiring up our activities with one another. We'll add some basic functionality to those three buttons, which is a click or tap on the top button will lead to the main activity, a tap on staff will lead to staff, and a tap on starlog, you guessed it, will lead to starlog. To make it more clear on which activity we actually are, I've also amended the code with corresponding functionality that highlights an active button. For that I've defined another drawable, panel button active, which contains a different color for the button. And in the Java class, I've renamed the function init layout because now it also handles marking the right button as active by setting the background resource to this newly created resource, and by deactivating, so a click or tap on it has no effect. So that's all set. We can see it right here on the sensors page. This is what the buttons will look like when the page is active. Okay, now let's get into it. I'll click on Manded.xml. The first thing to consider is the trigger of the interaction. And that will be one of the buttons. So I'll double click on this include, click on one of the buttons, and scroll down to the attribute onClick. And here I'll fill in the name of a function that's yet to define. A nav button click. Take this one as well. Paste it in here as well. And for starlog, the same. You see I'm defining one function for all three buttons. That's pretty common practice. So now let's go to main.java, and directly underneath the onCreate function, I create that public function. Public void on nav button click. This will hand in a view, which is the view which has received the click. And within this function, I will need switch statement and look for the ID of this view. And then I look which one was clicked, either btn census, or it was bta staff, or in the third case, that would be btr starlog. This quickly line indicates that view has not been imported yet. I can either hover over this quickly line and select import view from here, or I can select Ctrl-Shift-O on PC or Command-Shift-O on Mac to have the import statements added or removed automatically. Now enter the star of this episode, the intent. I create an intent, Control Space brings up the code assist. Accepting intent should provide the import statement. The local variable is called intent, like this. Now here comes the interesting part. An intent is some sort of declaration what I would like to do. In this case, if I click on census, I would want intent to be a new intent. There's 6 available constructors. We need this one. We'll take the context from this activity, which is this. Activity is in fact a subclass of the class context. I want this intent to call the class main.class. In the case of the staff button, I want this intent to be the class staff. And I copy that line again, holding Control and Alt or Command and Alt on Mac, key down, now release, Control, can move this line freely. That is a quick fresh up. And in the last case, on the starlog, I want to call the class starlog. I've prepared an intent. I have initialized the variable intent with the corresponding intent. And last but not least, I'll have to start the corresponding activity. This I'll do by calling start activity with the parameter intent. That's the intent I've just created. Save. If we have this here, these squiggly lines, this indicates that what if we don't click on one of those buttons or something different? Then intent wouldn't have been initialized. But let's keep it simple. If I didn't click on census and I didn't click on staff, I must have clicked on starlog. So I replace this case statement with a default. One important thing to check is whether the activity has been declared in the manifest. I'll double click on it. And there it is. Activity main, activity staff, activity starlog. The dot in the beginning is optional, but for consistency, I'll include it. Okay, now let's test it in the emulator. Now first I click on the census. That shouldn't do anything because I've deactivated this button. Okay, now I click on staff. And as you see, now it switches to the staff page. On starlog the same. Click on it. In case something has gone wrong, let's have a look at the manifest again. .starlog, have I saved? No, the reason was something different, because up until now, I've only created that interaction in the main class. And the second click I did in the staff class. And there that on nav button click, which it tries to call, isn't yet defined. So I do the same from the sensors page, from the main page, click on starlog, and there we are. But solving that problem is pretty easy. I take that whole code, that whole function, copy it, open staff, open starlog, and enter it here as well. Once, twice, start again, staff, starlog, staff again, shouldn't do anything, that's right, and sensors. Wow, that was simple, wasn't it?